Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mag. And right now we're going to talk about a very, very favourite pet subject of mine, and that's Smallville, because I fished out this brilliant article from Screen Rant. Smallville, why Clark took over Green Arrow's Justice League in Season 8. In Smallville Season 8, Clark Kent took control of the Justice League away from the Green Arrow and basically made himself their leader. But why? Green Arrow, Justin Hartley, is the hero who put together Smallville's Justice League, but everything he built was taken away by Clark Kent, Tom Welling in Season 8. Green Arrow's band of superpowered vigilantes was the TV show's take on DC's most iconic superhero team. Smallville deliberately avoided using its full name, but used enough references to make it clear who they were. Starting in Season 4, Smallville introduced several DC Comics superheroes. In Season 6, brought them together for an epic team-up. It was revealed that Oliver Queen, who was committed to putting a stop to the illegal operations conducted by Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum, secretly recruited 3 heroes behind Clark's back. Under Green Arrow's leadership, Bart Allen, Carl Gowner, Aquaman, Alan Richardson, and Cyborg Lee Thompson-Young, the late tragic Lee Thompson-Young, great guy by the way, did a great job as Cyborg, worked with Clark to destroy one of Lex's facilities in the aftermath of Smallville's Justice League was formed. Clark opted not to be a member at first, but ended up serving with them on multiple occasions. As time passed, more Smallville heroes joined their ranks. Tensions developed between Clark and Oliver over their moral differences in Season 8, and they escalated even further when Oliver killed Lex Luthor in the Season 8 finale. Clark was in the barn making a plan to beat Doomsday with Bart and Black Canary, Elena Huffman. When Oliver arrived, Oliver argued that Doomsday's human alter ego, Davis Bloom, played by the fantastic Sam Witwer, should be killed. That's when Clark angrily told Bart and Dinah the truth about Oliver's decision to kill Lex. Clark then said to Oliver, You're not one of us anymore, effectively cutting Oliver's ties to the Justice League, even though Bart and Dinah ended up going against Clark's decision and listened to Oliver anyway for this particular mission. So what actually happened is they all turned on Clark, and actually Oliver put a meteor rock, kryptonite, on Clark so he couldn't stop them. From then on, Clark began to fill a leadership role with the Justice League, giving orders and making inspirational speeches in true Superman fashion. Clark did decide to forgive Oliver when he realised he made a costly mistake by trying to save Davis. But despite that, Oliver still became disillusioned with his life as the Green Arrow, and it took some time for him to go back to being a hero again. But by this time in Season 9, Clark had fully grown into the position of leader, with each member of the Justice League now fully behind Clark and ready to follow his commands. The team that Green Arrow worked tirelessly to put together ultimately became Clark's. It was unfortunate that all the effort Oliver put into forming the Justice League had such a poor result for him. But what his takeover of the Justice League boiled down to was Clark's strict no-killing rule. This is interesting, which he expected others to follow, and his evolution as a hero. Back in Smallville Season 6, Clark was barely even ready to be a Justice League member, let alone the group's leader. But as more conflict arose and Clark developed a greater sense of responsibility, his commitment to being a hero and his confidence in his decisions grew. Yeah, a good little article there. I think there's some issues that they didn't actually touch on. So when Oliver and Clark first meet, Clark thinks Oliver's actually a villain, and then he realises he's the Green Arrow. Now, Oliver doesn't understand why Clark doesn't become a hero for the rest of the world, globally or in Metropolis. Clark just wants to put out little fires in Smallville. In a way, he wants to hide away at the Kent farm. He lost his father a year before after first meeting Oliver. It's difficult for Clark. He's not ready to become the hero he's going to become, but he doesn't know he's going to become. And this is the great thing about Smallville. It was the story of the story. And now the elements of him taking over from Oliver, and by the way, in the end, Oliver was fine with Clark being the leader. And actually, that article got something wrong. Clark had a great idea to banish Davis Bloom, who was the alter ego of Doomsday. Yes, in Smallville, unlike the comics, it was a bit like Banner and the Hulk. he actually becomes Doomsday. And so Clark had this great idea to banish Davis Bloom into the Phantom Zone, but Chloe wouldn't let him. I think this is when Chloe went down in my estimations, because that was a great plan. It wasn't very fair on Davis, but at the end of the day, he was a big threat, and there was no other way to deal with it. I mean, Clark would never kill Davis, and this is the problem. Oliver Queen wanted to kill Davis Bloom, and this is what Clark primarily, am I saying the word right? Anyway, basically, Oliver wanted to kill Davis, and Clark didn't agree with it. So when they went to kill Davis, it all went wrong, because basically Davis what they wanted to actually do. No, Clark wanted that with black kryptonite and wanted to divide Davis from Doomsday. That's right, I remember it now. So, and I think what they wanted to do was just kill him. And this was a difference of opinion. And Clark's no-kill policy in Smallville came up a lot in the show. There was an episode called Legion, when Clark makes the Legion of superheroes. This is a brilliant episode written by Jeff Johns, whatever you think of the man. And basically, the Legion have come back to kill Chloe, because Chloe has been taken over by Brainiac. As far as they're concerned, there's no other option, and Clark's not having it. Chloe is Clark's best friend from school. He's not going to have it. He will stand in their way. He will not let them kill his best friend. He will not allow them to kill anyone, because that's what Superman is. His no-kill policy is important. Now, we can go over the controversy in Man of Steel till we're blue in the face. It happened. It's done. It's a shame that we didn't get something in Batman versus Superman where he's, as I said before, I've killed before. I don't like how it feels. It doesn't accomplish anything. But he learned nothing from that moment with Zod, which is a shame, really, because I think that would have been great commentary. Anyway, we're not talking about MOS and BVS right now. And so Clark does have a strict no-kill rule. And also, the Kents are very different to the way they are in the DCEU. In the Smallville universe, they're a very wholesome family. But Jonathan has issues. Jonathan has a temper. Jonathan goes to jail because of his temper. Jonathan has a heart attack because he loses his temper with Lex Luthor's father, Lionel Luthor, after he finds out that he's got proof who Clark really is. Jonathan's temper became the death of him. And that was another great episode as well. You know, the episode that Jonathan dies. And what happens is that at the start of the season, Clark dies and is brought back to life by Jor-El, because Clark loses his powers or gives them up in the season premiere. But then Jor-El warns him, a life will have to be taken for his. And Clark says, I would never want that. Take my life. It's too late. The job's been done. Someone has to die. And by the time we get into season 5, episode 12, Reckoning, we don't know who it's going to be. So firstly, Lana dies. But Clark goes back in time and saves Lana from dying in an accident. It's a big episode. He reveals who he is to Lana. She sees the fortress. He proposes to her in the fortress. And Smallville has a stunning Fortress of Solitude, by the way. You should check the show out if you've never seen it. And I think, I don't think, I know. And so he saves Lana. So what happens is, ultimately, because he goes back to save Lana, another life has to be taken. And it's Jonathan's. And I liked the bit before the funeral. And Smallville did great funerals, if you can ever do great funerals. And he says to his mother, how can I become the man he wanted me to be without him here? And it's an amazing moment. And, you know, Peter Gabriel's I Grieve plays over the funeral. And it's so beautiful. And I remember when I lost my mum and I played that song because Clark played that song. You know, I always loved Superman, but Smallville really brought that torch to, you know, not just to flicker, to burn high. Smallville was an amazing show. But do you think that Clark was right to take over the Justice League when Oliver was already in charge of it, or should he have left well enough alone? My opinion is this. Oliver got too dark. He decided to think that killing was fine because if you kill one villain, then you can go and kill the rest. So I think Clark was in the right. But of course, I'm always going to side with Superman, aren't I? Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with the DC Daily. See you again soon.